Hey everybody, real quick. So working on my discussion board, trying to fix some things real quick on my responses for this week, so I don't get marked down points. But I came on here real quick because I guess maybe I don't understand, or maybe I don't know how to like talk or communicate. I mean, I know that's been a weakness for me for years is my communication. I don't always say what I mean, or I don't always be clear about what I'm trying to say. So anyways, today I was just talking normal, driving home from work, just was doing a touch base, to check in on see how the boyfriend was doing. And so I thought I had lost my glove. I ended up finding it, mind you, like probably halfway through the drive. I ended up finding it. It was buried like all the way in my jacket pocket. But at the time I couldn't feel it, or I couldn't, so I couldn't find it. And so anyways, I'm like, dang, I must have dropped it at the gas station. So, I'm like, hey, just calling to see how you doing. Oh, it's going type deal. Conversation started off okay. Then I said, dang, I must have dropped my glove at the gas station because, I had went and got gas. And so he was like, what? I said, now I'm raising my voice where I'm like, in my mind, I'm like trying to play it out. But as I'm saying it, now I done like rose my voice. I left my glove. I think I dropped it at the gas station because I'm driving and you're talking about you can't hear. But then at the same time, the reason you can't hear is because you're drilling and working on a car or whatever you doing. Like you're not even really paying attention. So now he gets loud. You act like I'm irritating you because I'm asking you a question. No, sir, it just sounds like you are acting like you can't hear what I'm saying and I'm talking normal. Now you want me to raise my voice up so you can hear. Now you saying I'm yelling at you, and then right before he ends the call, he says something, bro. I said, oh wow, I'm still a bro after I asked you not to call me that, like I'm a man or something. I was like, I just don't understand. Now when I was saying bro, he was like, please don't call me that, don't say that, da da da. So then I stopped. Same way I stopped saying, dang, that's rude. Or it wasn't even dang out. It wasn't dang, that's rude. It was, oh, that's rude. Like I was just, just playing around type deal. Like, oh, that's rude. Like, come on now. Like, really? That's rude. Or whatever. Because people will say whatever all the time. Or, you know what I mean. Or, whatchamacallit. Like, I used to say that a whole heck of a lot more than I do now. But and mind you, there is a candy bar called whatchamacallit. So, if I didn't know how to pronounce it, or if I didn't really know what the name of something was, I'd be like that whatchamacallit, or that thingamajig, or something like that. Eventually, I started using my words. Um, then on top of that, like I've been having like a whole bunch of meetings for the trainings and trying to like get my travel off the ground. So I've been trying to work that out, trying to get that together. Um, Also trying to like I said, do my homework for class. I have two classes that I am currently in right now, and I'll have two classes, and then my third class will start like right after one of the two classes end. So I'll always have a total of two classes, but how they do it is the first 8 weeks will be the first class, and then the second 8 weeks will be the second one, And then you'll have the research class, which is the entire semester. So 15, 16 weeks, whatever it is. That's how long, the research class is. And I have 3 parts to research. So I'm finishing up part 1, which is the design part of it. Then I have part 2 of research. And I think that's more of like the methods, the theories, stuff like that. I believe, or maybe calculations, statistical type, maybe around that topic, I want to say. So I just was like, man, I cannot understand. Like, and then it's so crazy because I realized yesterday I didn't normally, I'm like, oh, happy anniversary, da da da. I think in my mind I said I was gonna send like, something that said it, and then I think it slipped my mind because I literally had 10 files to do, scan. I had to make sure, certain paperwork was in the files. So all of those got there today. Thank God. Because I put all of the mail in there yesterday for them to get there today at the latest. And so, but no, I don't, I don't know how else to, like, talk. Like, I've tried to be nice. I've tried to be more patient. I've tried to, lower my tone of voice or how I respond. I don't try everything. And it has just been like an epic fail. And then in my mind, I'm like, sometimes I think, because he used to make a comment saying that he felt I wanted him to be perfect. And it didn't have necessarily had nothing to do with him being perfect. It's just the fact that you can do better. Like, you have the potential to do better than what you are doing, but you choose not to do better. And my thought process is like this: were you like this in the last relationship? Of course I don't say it out loud, but I'll be thinking it, like, was this what this was in the last relationship? Was this how you acted in the last relationship that caused the animosity, or the I don't like you no more, or I love you but I'm straight, and then to be in a relationship over a certain amount of years and it not work. Like, it's either something was wrong with you, or something was wrong with both of y'all, or something was wrong with this other individual, whether it was a he, her, whatever. So of course, I try to brainstorm. I try to come back and be a little lighter. I try to, say I'm sorry. I try to apologize. I try to do, everything on my end to be the right way. Now, mind you, a few weeks ago, before we actually had went to the Mary J. Blige concert, like, we had a heated little conversation in which he was like, in so many words, he went to break up. So mind you, like, now I'm really on guard, because if you can tell me that, then more than likely that's what is leading up to. You just haven't figured out how to say it to me, if that makes sense. And so now I'm on guard, because I'm like, all right, let me just focus on the things that I already got going on, because that's, usually what kind of keeps me pretty stable. And my thing is, as the individual that, when I was single for a few years, so about a year or two, I was single. And then, okay, then when me and the ex had, parted ways, I was only single for maybe, what, about a year and a half or something like that. And he was already jumping on me, like trying to like take me out, do all this nice stuff in the beginning. Oh, let's go here, let's go there. Like he was trying to, it was almost like he was trying to impress me. And I remember saying to him, like, I think this is just a fling. I think that, eventually you're gonna not like me, or you're gonna get bored, and then that'll just be that. And then he was like, no, I really love you, and, all of this and that. But then it's like, when I try to communicate with him, total horrible. Just long as I don't say nothing, so peaceful. Long as he can talk and say what he gotta say, it's so peaceful. If I start saying something, it goes fucking to the left. So, I just came out here because I was driving and I didn't want to like try to do a video while driving. So I was like, let me wait till I get home and then I can kind of get my thoughts together, say what I'm going to say, and then get back into this homework. Mind you, eventually, um, I'll finish getting my room, my desk, and everything like that up. I finally got my storage thing up. I still have like my labs and stuff, like they're still in the corner, just sitting there. Like I told mom, I said I gotta try to figure out how I can incorporate that for the next week or two and pick that back up so I can go ahead and knock out the last couple labs. And it's not even that they are hard, it's just it's time consuming and trying to write up the reports and all of that, like that just be, and then you have to like talk to the tutors and try to get, that together and in order. So it's not even, it's just time consuming for right now. And it's already time consuming just to do like the research and do the health promotion course. And mind you, I only get like a week off from school. So it's like trying to, I was supposed to have this done in January, and then, stuff just was happening that I was just like, let me just take a pause break from my lab because it's not like I don't know how to do lab. I know how to do lab. It's just right now I just feel like it's really overwhelming, especially when, I'm trying to also clear out my room. I've already pretty much cleared out like most of my closet. I done pretty much gave away like half of my clothes. I done pretty much gave away like all of that stuff that I wasn't wearing or, could no longer wear, or now I'm more mature. So it's like, okay, I need to go ahead and let it go. And then I still had some new clothes that had tags on them. Um, that ended up being too small that I, probably at that point in time could wear them. But then once everything, with the pandemic and everything like that and me sitting around, that it was like, now it's too small. So I gave it to somebody who, is probably around my size or a little bit smaller and that is able to, fit at least the clothes. And I gave them some coats. So like I had some really nice coats that I gave away. Um, some of which were my favorite coats, but I was like, somebody else can, wear them and, and they can enjoy that style. Um, and I still have probably a lot of clothes that like I've since then, updated most of my work clothes and some of my evening wear and things like that. Like I've done that. But yeah, like when I say my room is way better than it was looking, it's way better than what it was looking. Um, and I just to let you know, like it's one thing when you start to just like I have, like my separation for organizing my different you know, perfumes and sprays and stuff like that. So I have stuff already. And then I already had like two baskets that I hadn't had gotten. I already had like a plastic organizer that was like three I guess box type, for organizing stuff and putting paperwork in. I used to have like a organizer for like my bills and all of that. I eventually got rid of it because it started breaking. I used to have like a extremely large tote that ended up breaking, and so I ended up, letting that go. Um, I ended up buying new totes to put like pictures and different things that is just kind of sitting around at the house right now, because if I had a bigger house, I guarantee you, like the stuff that I have in my room right now, all of that stuff would not be overwhelming in the basement. Like it would just literally be one corner probably of the basement of all my stuff in, totes or in a box or something like that. Um I really do have a lot of shoes. Shoes that I have not even took out, like haven't even worn anywhere. But I figured, eventually when I'm a PA, I was going to have to wear a shoe here and there, um, just because, they want you to know how to dress and be a little fashionable out in the field. Even if you do have a white coat on, you still want to look presentable. So, I had bought like a lot of dress shoes, a lot of shoes that I for sure know I would, wear. Um, but again, it's just like what what else can you do to, show that, you're trying in all aspects of your life, whether it's you trying to organize your room, whether it's you trying to organize um being in a relationship as far as in communication, like all of these different things that I've been doing, like is work in progress. Like from, like I said, my closets to, the different things in my room that needed to be somewhere, and being able to get rid of some of the things that were dear to me and very important to me. And then some things that, I still kind of hold on to some of those memories because, it's like I literally wouldn't have half of this stuff if it wasn't for, this gentleman coming into my life and saying, "Hey, let's go to the store," or "I think this is cute on you." And some stuff was like really cute, and then some stuff I was like, "I am not wearing it." Like, sir, what is we doing? Like and I think sometimes we do forget to kind of set those boundaries and with people, you know, and so, like my boundaries is, let me focus on my homework. Let me focus on what I got going on. If you feel like I'm irritating you, or if you feel like because you are questioning me about something and you think that now have an attitude or that I'm feeling some type of way when I know I'm not, well then that's what you think. That's, like I don't know how else to like respond or say, like I just really don't. I don't even know how to respond anymore because like I said, if I'm quiet, no problems. Soon as I open my mouth, it's a whole problem. Like it's a problem from the time I open my mouth to the time I close it. So I'm like, well, shoot, it ain't no sense of me saying nothing. I might as well just be quiet and let you just say whatever you gonna say and just listen and just say and okay, because if I try to share my opinion, if I try to share the how my brain is working, now you don't want to hear what I got to say, or now it's boring to you. But as long as you talking and saying all the stuff, what I need to be doing, And this the other thing that I was gonna talk about earlier. I was gonna do a video, and then I got, kind of caught up with work, so I couldn't really do the video. So I don't like when people, they always suggesting stuff, but then they are suggested, but then what are you doing in your life? Have you took any advice or suggestions from other people to, make yourself better? So like the conversation came up where first it was, oh, you should just be a nurse. Now I've heard this since I can remember. And what irritates me about that is that because I have a goal and a dream that other people don't have, and that I know that they haven't prayed and said, God, let Nina be this individual doing this. I pray to God. First off, I'll tell you what. I pray to God, after I left out of my undergrad, I prayed to God and I said, if I ever get back into school and I get a master's, I would like to, explore more of health informatics. And at the time, it was called health informatics at Northwestern. And I said, God, I really think this is the program I need, that I would be good in or good at. Because I've, got the computer background. I've, been using computers and doing different things with computers that I think I would be good at, a job in this area. So fast forward 10 years later, I end up getting into the program. I ended up going to Grand Canyon, and I got an awesome, advisor, counselor, whatever you would like to call her, who, walked me through it, talked to me when I was on my good days and bad days. I had my regular student counselor that was awesome, and when I advocated for myself, she also advocated as well as the new student counselor that took over her spot, because she ended up being a nurse director or something like that. Like, she moved all the way up. So, even he was like an advocate, especially when it came down to my practicum and getting my site situated, and talking to the professor and being able to get her to sign off on allowing me to come into the class 2 weeks late, catch up with the class, and pass the class with an A. Like, and at the same time, I lost my aunt a year apart from each other. I lost my dad's sister in 23, and then I lost my mom's sister in 24. And I graduated probably 2 weeks after her funeral. I graduated, walked with the class, and then I finished my class like in June. So, and I had to do a presentation and everything. Anyways, at the end of the day, I kid you not, like, it was a challenge, but I also prayed about it, and so fast forward a year after I graduate, right? I'm in a new program, a doctorate's program. And of course I prayed again, because I said, God, I don't know what this PA program is looking like. I don't know if I'm going to get in or not, but for some reason, this health science seemed like it's a good little idea to, go towards that way. Now, mind you, I couldn't do it for my undergrad because I was under a contract for financial aid, and at that time, I was pretty much out of financial aid, so pretty much it determined my grades. Like, my grades had to be a C or higher. If I got anything lower, then my financial aid got cut off, and that's pretty much how I lost financial aid my last semester. And so since then, I have been, adamant about making sure that I'm passing my classes, that my grades are at a decent score, and that I'm always asking questions, always, talking to the professor, meeting with the professor, whatever I do to get out of the classes. And also, doing tutoring, getting help wherever I can get help, and having that support in that area. So, so 2 degrees, I for sure prayed and asked God the direction for those 2 degrees. And I thought I was going to get a job, and I am having a hard time getting a job under my master's degree. So I kind of, took a seat, kind of was like, all right, let me see, if I can just hang on in here another year or so and hope that I get into PA school next year. If I don't get into PA school, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to still apply, because I'm going to apply in April of this year. So I'm going to still apply to the schools. But, I'm just like, all right, whatever. But when I say people will suggest stuff and be like, oh, you should do this. Well, first off, you don't even know what the history of why it took me so long to get to where I'm at right now. Everything wasn't like always easy for me. I know some people are like, oh, you wasn't using your full potential, or oh, you wasn't doing this, or oh, like, why did you, fail your class, or like what was going on that you cannot pass your classes. Well, one, let's see, it's always the one that is having to be needy, always talking about they don't feel like they are being seen, you're not giving them enough time, you're always at work, you always studying, you always doing something. And then when you flip the script and you say, wow, but wasn't you just busy not too long ago, and you can't really give me your time like you said you were gonna do? And I sat there and I, still had to go and suffer by myself, and then now that, I'm kind of getting my life a little more organized, and especially with the school situation, getting that like organized where I'm, a little more on top of my education, a little more conscious and mindful of my time, and how to be successful, because I don't really have anybody helping me. The only person or two people that really helped me when I was in school, both were exes, but one was just more in tune with school. They had been in school, they had did it, but it was like boring to them. And so the work that I was getting wasn't challenging enough for them, but they could like help and explain it to me for me to understand, which I appreciate every single moment of that, because I don't think I would have been able to get through a lot of my classes if it wasn't for them taking the time out of their life and their busy schedule to sit down and explain how to do X, Y, and Z. Whether it was math, whether it was helping me brainstorm to write a paper, whether it was studying for one of my science classes, whether it was them, taking the time after working some hours to come and literally tutor, 3 to 5 of us about a subject that we just really could not understand and couldn't grasp. Like, awesome support there. The other individual, I think they helped with like one or two things, but a lot of times their mom was like my support system when it came to like helping me with writing papers, and all of that. And I want to say that maybe she passed away a few years ago. Not really sure what, from what, but I think she passed away. But she was awesome with me on that part of my studies. Um, Fast forward to individuals later on in my life. Like I said, a lot of them was like they weren't getting enough time. You know, she's always working. I'm getting accused of cheating when I'm getting off of work after doing like 12 to 16 hours in a day's time. On top of, I'm still having to stay up to do homework. I'm still, lack of sleep. I'm still, trying to help everybody that needs help. And then, you know, they would help on, helping me write some of my PA essays, and then, or, helping with some of my assignments where they would read and try to explain it to me, and then, try to, help me that way. But then at the same time, now we're arguing again about something else. Something I done said, now it done pissed that person off. So I feel like, my stress level is high because when I have to deal with individuals that really don't have the same understanding as I do when it comes to studying or what I have as the goal, like, wait, okay, so all the rest of the goals align, and then when it comes to this part, it does not. I don't have kids for a reason because I am constantly in school trying to get this part over with. So I don't have to worry about having to be in school. I don't have to worry about, having to work um all these crazy hours and not seeing my kid at all. That was, the sacrifice that I decided to do because me growing up as the only child and not being able to see either of my parents because either my mom was working all the time or my dad was out in Chicago staying with a sister or a friend or bouncing from house to house or whatever he was doing, apartment to apartment. I don't know. I don't know what his living situation was out in Chicago, not for real. And then, to come up here and then start trying to bounce from place to place. You don't want to get along with your sister. You try to stay at the church, and then you have a whole, episode at the church. Now, we got to get you back on your meds and get you back stable. And, to have to deal with all of those different scenarios that have happened in my lifetime. Whether I was 18, whether I was 30, whether I'm 38 now. Like, if you look at all of the different stages of my life, I have literally went through something. Whether it was a challenge, whether it was easy, whether it was hard, whether it was just, up in the air. I've went through just about everything. I've went through, getting scholarships to no scholarships at all. I have went through, having my work hours reduced so I can pass a class or two. I've had to take spring and summer courses and pay out of pocket, and Lord behold, I don't have the money, so now I got to use a credit card. And nobody else was giving no money to help me try to pay for no classes. And then to turn around and then have to go through a debt solution and clear out like half of those bills because one of the guys want to play me because they don't want to make a payment on a payment that you said you were going to make a payment on. And then want to turn around and say, oh, you still holding that over my head? I'm not holding anything over your head. If you think so, sir, that is on you. But get out my, DM. Stop trying to message me. Stop trying to be my friend because I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I definitely don't want nothing to do with your other friend that both of y'all was like plotting again, to see who could do whatever. That's what I feel like. Y'all was plotting on me to see who could, hit it or who could do this and that and how much money or what I can get from her and she gonna do it. Like I felt like I was like a bet or something. And so to have to deal with all of those those different things. And then, to come and be called a liar. I'm like, I know what I hear. Maybe you don't hear what you yourself sometimes talk, but I hear exactly what people say. I might not word it the same. It might not come exactly out the same way that you have said it, but my interpretation of what it sounds like to me, or how I think that you meant how you are trying to say it, and then you try to say, no, that's not what I meant, or no, that's not how I said that. But it's not even whether or not I said it exactly how you said it. The point is, you somehow said something that made me think, like, why do you feel like I'm this type of person? Or why do you think that, I wouldn't do something? Because one, like I said, I barely have time for myself. I barely even had time. Look, my nails have not got done since February, since I last paid for them. But you, as a person who claim that you so consistent, oh, I'm going to take care of your nails and your toes. I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do this, this, and this. You will talk about that mess, and then you will do it for a little bit and then fall right on off, just like the rest of the folks that started talking about they was going to do something and they did it once or twice and then they fell off. And, this is another reason why I don't depend on people to do anything for me, because I already know that if you don't have it, you trying to front like you do, but you don't. So stop trying to front and just be like, you know what, I can do it sometimes, but yeah, like my pockets right now it's not ready to do X, Y, and Z. And I'll be fine with that. But to sit up there and say that you gonna take care of it, just let you know when my nails or something need to be done, you can look at it and be like, oh, okay, let me get your nails done. I was just looking at a video, and this young man, he's, gay or whatever, but this young man was like, normally he get his nails and stuff together. In this particular video, he ain't had no nails together, none of that. He had his hair together, but his nails was like just not done. So his man was like, what? Wait a minute, like pause, like, where your nails at? He said something. He was like, man, here, like, you just made me a nice dinner. Like, go get your nails done, get your hair done if you want to, whatever. Go shopping. I don't care. And so he was like, oh, okay, thanks. But to see that and him not have to ask for his nails to get done, like, dang, that's kind of, like, at least he like, let me get your nails together. Because what you mean you don't have no money? What you mean, you couldn't get your nails done this week? Okay, no problem. Here you go. He ain't say, well, why you didn't ask me to go get your nails done? He didn't say none of that. He was just like, here you go. He asked, why his nails wasn't done, but he didn't say why you didn't come to me and get some money. He just was like, here you go. Here goes some money so you can go get your nails done, because I like your nails. Like, what we doing? And, it's sad that I have to, kind of refer to the opposite sex that, are involved with same-sex partners and how they treat them. It'd be like, it's a no-brainer almost. Like, I know that you like this, so let me just make sure that you good all the time. And, and I just feel like sometimes it be failing in relationships when people will be like, all you gotta do is ask me. All you gotta do is, just same way with, like, what is it? Like, I had a hard day at work or school or whatever. Instead, you want me to rub your back and do all of that stuff, and then, you want me to now ask you to rub my back or anything. I said, most times, if, I think about it, I'm like, let me, rub his back or, do you want your back rubbed? But then it's other times that I be like, I don't get the reciprocal back. So I don't always have to ask you. I'll just rub your back sometimes. And then you will turn around and say, I don't do none of that. You don't rub my back unless I ask you to rub my back. And I be like, I'm like, that is not true. I said, it's been times that I've woke up in the middle of the night, and if I was, at your place or you was at my place, I done sat there and rubbed your back. You might have not got no oil put on there, but I rubbed your back, I massaged it, or whatever. Now, when you was pursuing me, then, I would rub your back because I already knew that you had a hard day, and I ain't feel like, to be another added stress to your day. So I'd be like, you want your back rubbed? But then being in a relationship, you think that the person is going to do that back to you and they don't. Then you start kind of scaling back yourself like, well, if you're not going to do this, I'm not about to keep, having my hands and stuff cramped up because you want me to rub your back all the time or you want me to do this, that, and the other. And the crazy part is that out of all the relationships that I've had, I'll say at least three of them was consistent about giving me a back massage, a foot massage, or just, helping me with my hair or something like that. If I needed to like wash it or blow dry it, they was good at doing that. Or sometimes they would like help me like in the back, like help me flat iron the back of my hair sometimes. And, you know, people always saying like how, they like having quality time. And yeah, I like quality time, but I also know that I'm a person that I also service people a lot, all the time, actually. And so, I don't have a problem with servicing people, but then I also have a problem when it's not being reciprocated back. Then I become, a little bit irritated. Now I'm like, okay, I'm about to be a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more firm or a little bit more direct because I'm like, what? Like, how does that doesn't make sense? But you want all of this, but you don't want to do it back. So how do you think that works? It doesn't. So, I just thought about like all the different things and I'm like, man, that's crazy that they didn't have issues with rubbing my back or rubbing my feet, but I find it's so amazing that long as I rub and I do this and that, you cool. But then if I'm like, okay, I done did all of this for you, now you want me to turn around and ask you to rub my back? Why? I'm like, so whether I'm a future wife and I have a future husband or not, is this what we expecting? Is that we expected to ask people to do something for us, even though we do so much for them all the time? Or, you know, they say they do a lot, but it don't seem like it evens out or it doesn't equal to the amount of the tolerance that you have to deal with on a daily basis. I'm just curious. What y'all think? Well, I done talked my head off. Done talked about a little bit of everything today. But yeah, I had to come out here because I was just like, I'm so irritated when people want to start suggesting about what you should be doing with your life, but then they don't do half the stuff that they supposed to do in their life. And that's one thing that it's a song that Maya, the singer, sings. I can't think of the name of it, but I'm pretty sure I have it the next time that I make a video. But she pretty much says, how you gonna tell me how to, do something in my life if your stuff ain't together and right? Like, how does that work? How can you tell me to do something better? How can you tell me I'm not doing something good because your life ain't really reflecting the same thing either? So, you know, you always gotta be mindful of stuff, even my language. Like I try to be mindful of not saying always all the time. I try to be mindful of, why do you always do that or something like that? Cause I know I'm going to say always. And it could be because I've been in college and always has been a question for so many different questions when it comes to science or a psychology question or whatever. I can tell you off rip, I do not like to be asked 1,000 questions, especially when I don't know the answer or especially when I don't feel comfortable with, the topic. So yeah, I might get a little, frustrated because I'm like, why are you asking me? Won't you, kind of do some more research before you start trying to ask me questions, because you probably will get the answer if you look it up and actually do some research for yourself before, just wanting to get the answer from somebody else. And I've always been that, the type of person, I don't mind, answering questions, but after a while it starts to get irritating. It starts to drive me bonkers because it's like you're not listening and I try to explain it to you. I done tried to show you different routes of how to go about doing this. Now you just don't want to do it. Like if I'm asking you, hey, have you got this done? And you say no. Or, like a prime example. At first I used to ask my boyfriend like, hey, did you, go get your passport? He'll say, no, not yet. I'm about to schedule an appointment. I'm going to do it next week. Next week come, I be, touching bases. I'll be like, hey, you, got this taken care of yet? We about to be leaving for this trip in a few months. So, like, I don't know why you just not thinking that this is important. So he like, one day he blows up and he was like, stop asking me about when I'm gonna do this. And when I get ready to do it, I'm gonna do it when I get ready to. Okay, no problem. So a couple weeks ago, he had like the passport application on the table, like he was filling it out, and how he was telling me about his nephew was supposed to be filling out an application for this place he was supposed to be moving in. Da 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 da. So I guess both of them was supposed to be filling out paperwork, around the same time so they could accomplish a goal. So then he says, hey, when the passports, the appointments or something like that, or when the walk-ins, I said, well, yeah, I know the one, over there by the the market. I know that one has walk-ins on Tuesdays between, I think it was like 10 or 11 or 1 or something like that. And so he said, oh, okay. And he said he was going to go. I don't know if it was going to be that one or he was going to go to the other one downtown. Either way it go, I know that one real close to the house, walk-ins on Tuesdays. If you want to mess with downtown and see if you can get an appointment, go ahead. See if you get an appointment. No problem. Um, you know, I told him like, hey, you need your birth certificate, stuff like that, this, that, and the other. I was like, and so, at the time, the situation was still a situation where, now you got to include other information. Um, and now you claim that you don't know you don't have the answers, or you don't know the answers per se. So you say. So, of course, I left it alone. I didn't say nothing else. So, more recently, my mom got her passport because she's supposed to be traveling maybe on a trip later in the summer, and then later in the year, me and her are gonna go to, Cancun. And so I was just like, at least my mama got her passport, and so me and her can just travel together. Like, I don't have to, really travel with other people at this point. Now I can, include my mom. We can go, long as she's up for it, we can go and see some of the world while she has time to, see the world, and while she's able to walk and move around at her age, let's, do what we gotta do. And I'm cool with that. But I don't like when people will ask you to help them to do all this work and then turn around and don't even bother, not even put the effort in to getting it done. Like, again, another example. He said he wanted to get his license back so he could drive trucks. So I guess a chauffeur's license. You're supposed to be studying for this exam so you can get your license or whatever that you're trying to get. Not one time have you been studying for that, but you so busy saying that you lonely. Why are you lonely? And you got so many things that you could be delegating and doing. Why you so busy and worried about what my house look like, how about look at yours and get yours in order? Yours is not even really in order, but you try to, you say you're not talking down, but you try to talk down to make it seem like what my stuff look like is not a certain way because how you do yours. That's how you do yours. I guarantee you, if I wasn't in school, I guarantee you half of my stuff that I got now, all this stuff wouldn't even be here because I would then have more time to go through, throw away, shred, whatever I'm going to do, donate to people. Like, it took me some time just to get through the closet and donate just the clothes. That's not even including the fact that I still got to find a consignment store, see if they will buy some of these purses, or some of these shoes that I can't wear because they hurt my feet, or whatever. Like, I bought some shoes that match one of my colorful dresses. Shoes is, oh my God, so bad. Oh my God, I'll have to show you them on another video. But shoes is so bad. Outfit, so cute. Summer type, springish, spring, summer-ish type dress. Shoes is, when I say shoes is bad, with the diamond rhinestones, they got like blue, lime green, I think some purple in there. Oh. And then I wore them boys to church a few times, and to maybe an event. Oh, did they have my feet hurting? I was like, oh Jesus, my feet hurt so bad. And then of course, like, I don't really wear heels like that because, like, for the longest I had this cyst on my toe, so I couldn't really wear heels because it would hurt because it was like right in between the joint of my bone to my toe, like in between that bone. So, like, if you got your foot in a heel and the cyst is like rubbing when you walk, so now it hurts to walk directly on the, like on your toe. So I was mostly in like flats and shoes and stuff that wasn't so on my toes directly. Yes, I have bought, insoles. I've bought stuff for like heels to try to help reduce the pain so my foot don't, be bothering or aching. And them things still don't work. I done spent $200, $300, $400 on installs, and my feet still be on 10. But anyways, like I said, just be mindful. And again, any thoughts, just leave them on the below in the comments. All right, ciao.